The first thing is basically the role which values play in entrepreneurship. We often think about entrepreneurship purely being about economic value, but I think it's about far more than that. For me, entrepreneurs are basically people who connect up different forms of value. So they might link up a kind of an ecological value, perhaps they have an interest in trying to make life more sustainable. Maybe they link up sort of social values in terms of valuing maybe issues like equality, or they might also link up things like values around creativity, aesthetics, beauty perhaps. So I think successful entrepreneurs are basically people who are able to link up a whole series of different values in unusual ways. If you talk to any top company, one of the central things they'll ask for is not necessarily knowing what the rules are, but being able to subtly break the rules, being able to be creative, being able to think innovatively. That's the first thing. And obviously art can provide that. The second thing they often ask for is the ability to communicate. And if there's one form of practice in social life, I think, who are brilliant at communicating, sometimes it's artists. They play with communication, use it in different ways. And if we look at many of the corporations today, the precise way in which they create value is through images, is through artistic practice. So most corporations now, a huge amount of their value, over half sometimes on their balance sheet, doesn't come from the physical assets which they own. It comes from intangible things like knowledge, brands, etc. I think what universities of the future have got to do is we need to move away from this idea that simply when you come to business school you get educated in economic values. There's no doubt that that's vital, that's important. Any kind of venture which you start, you're going to need to know finance, you're going to need to know accounting, you're going to need to know a little bit of marketing. But creating value goes far beyond that. I think business education is going to need to look at questions of other forms of value. So it's going to need, and it has done in the past, begun to look at the scientific values in terms of helping business students understand the advances which are massive, quick advances which are happening in science and neuroscience and materials science, nanotechnology, all of these kinds of things. So that's one part of it. The second thing I think though is important is getting business students to begin to understand the values which come with different culture and the kind of cultural values, whether that be working in different contexts in different parts of the world, working with different religious systems, but also seeing within our own societies the new kinds of values which are coming up, of what I might call post-materialistic values. Actually, from when I was a young man, I used to love doing art. My family has had an artistic streak all throughout. So I guess before when I was about 17, I faced a big sort of question. Do I go to art school or do I go to business school? And you know what? I decided to go to business school. Why was that? Well, I saw that what art did was, okay, provided us with images of the future. But I guess what I wanted to do was try and kind of build the future amongst people. And as I went through business school, I realized that it's probably the best place to have a big impact on the people like yourself who are going to be leaders in our society tomorrow. And so the art form isn't something which we stick on the wall there and people look at when they're bored during the lecture. It's in your life and the way you're going to live your life and build value in the future and help Switzerland, Europe, and the world to be a better place.